Rylan had been on alien worlds before, but none that made him reconsider every life choice that had led him to this moment, knee-deep in glowing moss that smelled suspiciously like burnt citrus, while his scanner repeated the same error message with the stubbornness of a toddler refusing bedtime. He smacked the device, which only made it beep louder as though offended. "If you start smoking," he muttered, "I'm leaving you here to explode with dignity." Something moved behind him, soft, deliberate, almost musical. He turned too fast and immediately tripped over a root that hadn't been there a moment ago. He hit the ground with a noise he hoped didn't sound as pathetic as it felt. When he looked up, brushing luminescent dust off his suit, he found her watching him. She looked nearly human, except for the long ears that curved upward like elegant crescents, shifting slightly, reacting to the faint hum of the moon's winds. Her eyes held a calm curiosity, the kind one might have when observing a small creature attempting something heroic, like lifting a rock twice its size. She said something in her language, a string of soft consonants and lilting vowels that his translator failed to process. Instead, it played static, because of course it did. Ryland stood, trying to appear composed, which was difficult with Moss clinging to his knee like a needy pet. "Hello," he said, raising a hand in what he hoped was a universal greeting and not a local insult. She tilted her head, ears flicking gently, but didn't retreat. That was a good sign. Probably. He cleared his throat, aware of how loud his heartbeat felt in the silence. She stepped closer, her movements smooth, almost gliding, as though gravity treated her more politely than it treated him. She observed him with an expression neither hostile nor friendly, merely open, waiting. And then, because his brain refused to cooperate under pressure, he blurted, "Your legs are beautiful." Silence, absolute cosmic silence. Even the moss seemed to reconsider glowing. Rylan internally prepared his own obituary. Cause of death, catastrophic complement failure. But then she made a sound, soft, melodic laughter, like distant chimes stirred by a passing comet. Her hand brushed over one of her long ears as though amused by his audacity. She replied in her own language again, and this time the translator managed something. "You fall often. This is pleasing." "Oh, good," he said. "Glad my gravitational issues are entertaining." She stepped closer, inspecting the ruined scanner hanging from his belt. She tapped it lightly and the device flickered back to life, displaying readings it hadn't managed in hours. Rylan blinked. "You fixed it. Please don't tell my team. They already think the equipment works better when I'm not touching it." Her ears twitched in what he hoped was amusement. She gestured for him to follow and began walking, expecting him to keep pace. He stumbled once, twice, then managed a rhythm that didn't involve immediate injury. They walked through towering crystalline structures that shimmered with inner currents of light. She moved with surety, as if the landscape whispered directions only she could hear. Every so often she glanced back at him, her expression unreadable but warm enough that he relaxed bit by bit, like a knot slowly untying. He realized he wasn't afraid anymore. Curious, yes. Slightly embarrassed eternally, but not afraid. This alien woman with her long ears catching every shift in the air had laughed at his compliment and fixed his scanner. In Ryland's experience, that was practically a diplomatic treaty. He followed her deeper into the glowing forest, unaware that the most extraordinary part of their meeting hadn't even begun. Ryland did his best to walk with dignity, which was difficult because the forest floor kept shifting under his boots, rippling gently like a living carpet deciding whether or not to trip him again. The alien woman who, in his mind, he had started calling Long Ears because her actual name required acrobatic tongue movements he did not possess, led him through the crystalline grove with effortless grace. She glided. He clunked. That was the dynamic. Every so often she glanced back, her expression carrying a hint of mischief, as if silently betting on how long he'd stay upright this time. After the third near fall, she emitted a soft sound that he suspected translated to amusement. The translator, helpfully useless, interpreted it as moisture detected, which made Rylan look around wildly until he realized she was laughing at him again. They reached a clearing where the crystals grew tall and thin, humming with faint electrical energy. The air tasted like the ozone bite after a passing storm. She stopped, turning toward him with the same poised stillness she'd shown when they first met. Her long ears angled forward, attentive. She spoke, the translator flickering before offering, "You compliment strangely." Rylan rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, humans are like that. We panic, words fall out. Sometimes the wrong ones, mostly the wrong ones." She considered this, ears shifting thoughtfully. Then she stepped closer, her gaze steady, as though evaluating whether he was truly as harmless as he seemed, or if he was simply too incompetent to pose any threat. She raised her hand and tapped the center of his chest. "Truth signal," the translator said. "You said what you meant." "About your legs." He blurted, then regretted it instantly. Her laughter chimed again, brighter this time. She lifted her chin slightly, as if accepting the compliment with a regal flourish. Then her expression shifted, turning softer, more intimate. She spoke a single phrase, which the translator relayed with unnerving clarity. "I have something even prettier, want to see." Rylan sputtered. "Define prettier. Also define see. And maybe define consent, because I feel like I'm walking into an interstellar HR violation." She didn't explain. Instead, she stepped back into the center of the clearing. The crystals around them began to vibrate, picking up some resonance from her presence. The humming deepened, harmonized, and the air shimmered as though reality itself was bracing for something extraordinary. Light bloomed across her skin. It began at her collarbone, faint glimmers like stars peeking through fog, then spread in soft waves along her arms, down her sides, spiraling across her legs in swirling patterns of blue, gold, and violet. The glow wasn't harsh but warm, pulsing gently like a heartbeat made visible. Ryland's jaw dropped so hard he was surprised it didn't hit a crystal. "You're glowing," he whispered, though the word felt inadequate. She was radiant, luminous, a living constellation standing in the middle of a crystalline chorus. She stepped toward him slowly, letting him take it in. The air hummed around her, responding to every pulse of light. When she stopped before him, she spoke with a tone softer than before. The translator offered, "This is for trust." His heart did something unhelpful and dramatic. Wow, I trust you too, probably too fast. Is this normal?" "It doesn't feel normal. My species usually expresses trust with awkward handshakes and carbohydrates." Her ears twitched again, definitely amusement. She let the glow fade slowly, the colors retreating beneath her skin like sinking starlight. He exhaled in a rush he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Okay," he said. "That was officially the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And I once watched plasma fireworks explode directly above my head because my friend miscalculated." She gave him a look that was both proud and teasing, as if to say she had expected nothing less from her display. But then her ears angled sharply. The glow was gone, replaced by alert tension. She turned toward the deeper forest, listening to something he couldn't hear. Ryland swallowed. That's not the everything's fine face, is it?" She didn't answer. She only reached for his wrist, gently but firmly, and pulled him along as the ground beneath them began a low, unsettling tremor. Ryland didn't need a translator to understand that the tremor wasn't just the forest stretching its legs. The alien woman, whose calm usually felt carved from moonlight, was suddenly all urgency. She led him through the crystalline grove at a pace that made his lungs reconsider their loyalty. The ground quivered, not violently but steadily, like a creature waking up beneath them and deciding whether snacks were on the menu. He tried to keep up while also trying not to die. "If this moon is about to explode," he gasped, "I just want it noted for the record that I died while exercising. My doctor will be thrilled." She didn't slow, but her ears flicked back in what he recognized as her version of an eye roll. She pointed ahead toward a dip in the terrain where the crystals glowed more intensely, their light pulsing in irregular bursts. The air felt dense, charged, as though the universe were holding its breath. When they reached the edge, Ryland saw the fissure, a crack in the fabric of the ground, but deeper than rock, deeper than matter. It shimmered with swirling energy that spilled upward like heat from a reactor, colors twisting in unnatural patterns. His scanner beeped once, then shut itself off entirely, as if declaring, "Nope, not dealing with that." Ryland swallowed. "Okay. Yep, that's cosmic doom, definitely doom. So what's the plan? Please tell me you have a plan." She nodded slowly, touching her palm to the ground. A faint glow spread from her hand, but instead of the warm, shimmering light she'd shown him before, this one vibrated with raw power. Her voice came soft but steady, the translator murmuring, "We cannot close it alone, but together we might steady it." He blinked. "What do you mean, together? My main skills include tripping and sarcastic commentary." Her expression softened, a quiet reassurance. She lifted his hand and placed it over her own, the glow intensifying beneath their palms. The energy buzzed through his skin, warm and electric, tingling along nerves he didn't know existed. His hair stood on end, his teeth buzzed, even his eyebrows felt unusually alive. "This is fine," he said through clenched teeth. "This is completely fine. I always wanted supercharged eyebrows." The crystals around them responded, humming as their light aligned with hers. She stepped closer, steadying him through the resonance. Together, they directed the pulse toward the fissure. The swirling energy fought back at first, pushing against them like a storm wind, but the more they focused, the more their combined pulse steadied. Ryland felt the ground shift again, this time not in warning but in relief. The fissure's light dimmed, the swirling colors contracting like a breath finally exhaled. With one final pulse, the crack sealed itself, leaving only a faint scar of dark stone. Silence fell over the grove. Real silence, not the ominous kind. Ryland sagged backward, hands on his knees. "Wow, I think I saw my soul leave my body for a second." She approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her touch was light, grateful. Her ears angled softly, and the translator offered, "You steadied the world with me." He wanted to make a joke, something light, something easy, but instead he said, "You trusted me. I just followed your lead." She considered him with a depth he hadn't earned but hoped to someday. The glow returned to her skin, faint this time, a quiet whisper of light meant only for him. He realized it wasn't just trust anymore. It was something deeper, born from shared danger and mutual reliance. He smiled, hesitant but warm. "So, does this mean I get to learn your real name without choking on it?" She laughed, a soft chime in the cooling air. She repeated her name, slower this time, guiding his pronunciation until he said it almost correctly. Almost. Her approving nod made him feel absurdly victorious. As they walked back through the forest, the crystals no longer hummed with danger but with gentle resonance, as though grateful. Ryland noticed he wasn't stumbling as much. Maybe the ground hadn't changed. Maybe he had. By the time they reached the edge of the grove, he glanced at her and said, "You know, for a first contact scenario, this went pretty well. No weapons, minimal screaming, only one existential rift. Honestly above average." She gave him a look that meant she agreed, and that she expected more of these strange adventures. Ryland didn't mind. He felt different now, steadier, as though something inside him had been rewired. He wasn't just the man who tripped over moss. He was someone who had helped seal a cosmic wound. Someone an alien woman had trusted enough to glow for. And as they walked toward whatever future waited beyond the forest, he found himself ready for it.